Welcome to the Get Offset podcast. My name is Emily,
My name is Andrew.
and we're coming at you from Seattle-ish.
Seattle-ish. That's good enough for me.
Yeah, that's where we normally do, but and I mean, I guess sometimes we're in other places.
Sometimes we are indeed in other places. I haven't left the Seattle area for a little bit, but I'm anticipating leaving the state twice this month. That'll be exciting.
Oh, yeah, that is
One of which is for
exciting.
family stuff, and the other one is for NAM. Can't wait for that. I'm looking at we're like just over a week out, and
Oh
I
my
am
God, really? That's so soon.
yeah.
I can't believe it.
There's so much to do. I'm gonna cry.
Wow.
But I'm very excited. I've been working really hard on prepping for it and looking forward to bringing forth the content I have planned and the content that will spontaneously happen.
Nice.
So, yeah, lots
I'm
of
a
good
little,
things.
I'm a little jealous that you're going to NAM, not for the actual NAM part, but there's so many lovely people that I would love to like hang out with. Yeah, I'm not. I don't envy you too much for all the work that you're gonna have to do.
All the beautiful people.
I envy you for the beautiful people, not the work.
Well, it's a trade-off.
It
And
is.
honestly, at this point, the work is just play for me. So it'll
Yeah.
be a lot to get done, but I think I'm going to enjoy every last second that I remember of it. So
Oh God, you better remember enough of it to do a recap.
I better remember all of it, because if I don't, that means I did something terribly wrong. Probably means I gave into the influence of people who I'm sure are already plotting to get what they need to get out of me. But
Perhaps a certain slummer.
it's possible. I think right now the plan is to drink and talk about Jesus, but we'll see how that goes.
Oh wow, yeah, that sounds like things I've had nightmares about.
Well, I will be keeping it to a level where I will hopefully not be
hmm
feeling any regret the day after, because there are 3 days on the show floor
Uh-huh.
that I plan on attending, as well as several evening activities, even several in a single evening.
Wow, yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a blast, and
Nice.
I anticipate being tired in the most wonderful way getting on the plane to head back up to Seattle afterwards.
You better go to that Gabriel Tenorio taco party.
That's the
You
plan.
better go on my
That
behalf.
is that is the plan, Stan, and I will let's just say I'm going to enjoy it.
Good. Enjoy it.
So,
Uh,
what's up with
well,
you?
I'm also going to be leaving the state twice. This coming weekend, I think it'll be this coming weekend. February 11th, I have a show in Portland,
Nice,
which
nice.
is with Sunday Crush. And then later in January, it looks like we're playing a show in Vancouver, BC. And then we're driving back down south to play a show in Olympia. And then we're going to play a show in Seattle. We're actually opening for Joey from La Neve and the Downtown Boys, who was on the podcast a few weeks ago to talk about No Music for Ice.
Woo!
Yeah, Joey Joey did it. I'm like, I just threw that out there and then it happened. And I don't know why I'm always surprised when life works like that.
Making connections, networking is what life is all about, right?
I'm just really stoked to see La Neve. I've been watching like the La Neve videos. I'm like, this is an aesthetic I like. And the
Well,
music's really good too. So but it's been really fun to watch, and I know we're all really excited for that show. But I want to that's not what weirdly that's not the show I want to talk about right now. I want to talk about my New Year's Eve show.
tell me about your New Year's Eve show. I wasn't there, so
Oh
I
my
don't
gosh.
know anything about it at this point.
Well, there were a lot of people there. Jeff Covey was there, so special thanks to Jeff for coming out and bringing some folks. It was a free show, but it's always nice to see friendly people in the crowd. What I loved, I think this was maybe the most fun I've had a show all year, despite the fact that there were numerous technical difficulties. It was amazing. My first solo, I go into the crowd, I'm just like playing. I have a 30-foot Covenant cable. Uh, I'm one of their artists, and so I'm just like, well, they still had the 50% off for artists. I like jumped on. I'm like, I'm gonna buy a long ass cable. Bought it. I do my solo. I'm coming back. My strap falls off my guitar at the
No.
butt. So I just crouched down, and it was actually kind of a perfect spot for me to crouch down because it was like right at the end of my solo. It was kind of a
Uh-huh.
quiet part I wasn't playing, so I just like put it back on real quick.
You're
Later,
shredding it too hard. Shredding too hard.
I know. Later, I decided to try to stand on top of my amp for a minute, and then, I fell off at the amp. I forget that that champ I have is not very heavy, so it doesn't take the weight of my body very well. I didn't take the amp with me, did not put my foot through the speaker either, but I'm left with a shiner the size of a baseball on my calf.
'Tis
But
merely a flesh wound.
then there's more. Next solo I have, I'm like, I'm gonna go into the audience again. I wrapped the cable around my strap just fine. Uh, I forgot to wrap the cable around my pedal board, so I pulled the cable out from my tuner, had to run back.
No.
Yeah, that was the most embarrassing thing and not the first time it's happened, so that's all on me. And then so there was this, like, bench right so we're playing right in front of a big window, and there's this bench right in front, and I'm like I jump on the bench a couple times behind the drummer, like, kind of flirting with people outside, and then the bassist comes up, and then we both are up there, and then I jokingly try to get to, like, the next tier of the bench, hit my head against the ceiling of the venue. But you know what? It
No.
was a great show. Everyone seemed way into it, got a ton of compliments, got paid really well, got free food, which I take over free booze any day of the week. Uh,
Agreed.
and it was such a fun show. We all felt really good about it. I think we all played really well. And I think that the thing about having those uh, difficulties and hitting your head and following up your amp, it's not about what happens, it's about how you respond to it. And I just felt really good about how I responded to those things. It didn't let it get to me. And I just kept playing through it and yeah, it was dope. It was great.
I don't, it sounds like the venue was haunted by oh god, what's the kid's name from Home
Macaulay
Alone?
Culkin, Kevin.
Yes. Yes.
Kevin.
It sound Kevin
Kevin.
uh it sounds like the venue was haunted by his ghost and he's not
No,
even
he's
dead yet.
not. He's not.
Just getting you every step of the way. Well, glad you survived. It sounds like an occupational hazard though, and you took it well.
You know what the whole study say? Killer parties almost killed me. No, all right.
That is true. No. You're absolutely correct, and that's the best way to party. Let's be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah, party hard. Oh, I love Andrew
Speaking
WK.
of speaking of party hardy, I do want to share what I'm drinking. It was a gift from my wife's uncle Mike, and I wanted to say on the air, thank you so much. It's a bottle of Macallan 12 finished in sherry casks,
Cool.
and it is quite delightful. And yeah, I'm drinking out of a proper glass tonight, enjoying it sip by sip, and wanted to say thank you.
Aw, that's a nice gift.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not drinking anything right now, but last night, um, I was doing a little project, so I bought a cheap speaker cab and I've painted it lavender. Uh, and Rick is really sensitive to those smells, so we went out last night, just to get a drink at a bar, and as we were walking back, we walked past Champion Wine Cellars, which is Seattle's oldest wine shop, although it's only been in our neighborhood for about 3 years. I had never been in, had a lovely little wine tasting and picked up a bottle of something red, the name of which escapes me. But yeah, so that was what I was drinking tonight.
Red wine is always a good choice,
I think
especially when
so.
given the option between red and white. That's just my
Oh
personal
yeah,
preference,
no,
but
it's not even a competition.
well, enjoy. I hope you enjoyed the bottle.
I'm enjoying it. I'm gonna savor it. It was only $14, which is I think the best part.
Oh, I love taking any bottle of wine, whether it be $10 or $30. That's about the top absolute most I'd ever spend personally. But
Mm,
spreading it out over 4 nights and one glass a night, and just as it opens up over a few days, I just find that incredibly fascinating. I'm also a dork, so
yeah.
what do you say?
There are a few bottles I've just dumped down the sink, I'm gonna be honest.
Well, nothing obligates you to drink something if you don't enjoy it.
I think they'd turned.
Now that does happen after about 3 or 4 days.
Yeah. That's why I'm surprised to hear you say that you will drink it over 4 days.
Well,
Like,
by the
oh
fourth,
god.
usually if you cork it right after you're done pouring it, by the end of the fourth or by the fourth day, it's got just a bare touch of vinegar usually, and so it's usually well within the realm of enjoyability.
Mm.
I just find the transition fascinating. Speaking of change over time, I'm very excited because I've been putting a lot of time into FoxChiRho, and some exciting things have been happening.
A lot of time, put in a little change.
You know it. So I've been more or less not fulfilling orders, or not accepting orders for the better part of a year, as I've taken time to step back and say, hold my horse, all the horses, hold the horses, and what exactly does this mean? How can I do this better? How can I reevaluate and reimagine what this business structure looks like? And I've been very excited because I feel like I've made some breakthroughs for what I want this business to look like, and I've hit the point where I'm ready to start relaunching. So the website is live. I've got a whole Etsy shop up and running. I've been putting a lot forward, but the thing I'm most excited about is less about the product itself and more about what I've been doing to try and reimagine what the brand is. And I'm taking a step in the direction of treating it like a platform for artists and designers. And I know that seems really strange without any context, but what we've done this week is uh, I started a quote unquote collection from an artist by the name of Aaron Schmidt, super rad guy, and he's got really natural talent for graphic design. So I reached out to him to help me do some work for graphic design for something completely just for my application instruction sheet and a couple of other things just for consultation. And I was like, wait a minute, you're really, really good at this. And it dawned on me that I like designing and doing art to an extent, but the painful reality that I had to face is I'm not as good at it as other people, and there's only so much I can offer with my artistic abilities and
Mhm.
designs that are in the shop. And so I thought to myself, well, what if I just got other people to do it for me? And what if there's a way where I could build this out in a way that's mutually beneficial, where the artist gets something and I get something out of it, and we can build kind of a community, a platform around it. So I'm
Mhm.
piloting the artist program. If you are an artist or a designer, hit me up. Let's talk. And I'm really excited to see what this is turning into.
Cool, that sounds like a lot of fun.
I also have merch now, which is also really exciting.
Ah,
So I got a
ah.
snapback. I've got a baseball tee. I've got a beanie on the way. I'm going all out.
Nice. Yes, that merch makes you just feel so swagger.
It just feels very official. Oh, and I just
Yeah.
got a photo booth set up because I tore apart my entire like studio, like my half of a room that I've got for home studio area. Tore it apart. I'm reworking everything around it being a my little studio for FoxChiRho um for photography, for production, for R&D. I mean, just the whole works. It's just I'm sitting right next to it now. I've got my whole workbench set up. It feels really good.
Awesome. That's good to hear. Yeah. Maybe someday Fox Cairo will be sponsoring podcasts.
We'll see. You guys keep spoiling me by giving me the honor of putting my product on your pedal boards, and we'll see how far this goes.
Yeah. That sounds cool. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah. I like the Foxy design too, the geometric stuff.
Yeah. Oh, he sent that to me. I was like, hold up. And this is further confirmation that I'm not the worst designer on the planet, but there's other people who are way more competent than I am, and
Oh, totally.
there's nothing wrong with that.
That's the case with everything in life.
So I'm very happy with the product I've got. I really do believe I've got the best topper on the market in terms of a combination of feature set and affordability. And I can't wait to continue to bring other people into that platform and to
Yeah.
to share this with everybody.
I love mine.
Heck yeah!
Yeah.
All right, so
Sponsors?
who sponsors? Who do you got for sponsors today?
I got Dwarfcraft Devices. What?
What?
I don't think it's any secret that we love Dwarfcraft Devices. They're one of my personal favorite pedal brands. Just
No
the
secrets here.
No secrets. Just the creativity of what they do is really remarkable. I mentioned before that they sent us some pedals to demo, and today I got to sit down and really, for the first time in a few weeks, had time to play with what they sent me, and I was sitting with the Ghost Fax, and that's a phase computer, and it's absolutely bananas. I mean, it's so creative for being something that doesn't have like screens or dip switches and stuff in the back. It has like 4 modes of operation, like for a phaser, standard manual, envelope up, envelope down, uh 32 poles, feedback control. Like it just I had modes that sounded nice and sweet and subtle and just added something a little like fun and washy to my sound. And I had things that made me sound like R2D2. It was really, really fun. A fun 30 minutes I had hanging out with it. So I have honest to God no idea how I'm gonna do a video that showcases this pedal. I might have to do it a little bit differently, but, I'm really excited.
Gotta give it the treatment that it deserves.
I think so. I mean, there's 4 modes, like, I have to figure this out. I have to make sure I'm doing it right, and, uh, it's really cool. I like it a lot. It's really neat.
For sure, for
Yeah.
sure. We got always have a lot of love for Dwarfcraft. Love those folks to death.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, especially,
So
Louise is a friend of the show. Ben's a mad scientist, of course,
heck
but
yeah.
I don't think it's any secret that Dwarfcraft devices would not exist without Louise, so let's give her all the props she deserves.
A round of
I'm
applause
not gonna actually clap.
or snaps. What snaps, whatever works
Uh,
best.
why I would rather it be just like an
There we go.
audience.
Ooh, there are some trails on that.
Yeah, arena
Well,
reverb.
for our next sponsor, we've got Tysco, and I want to talk to you a little bit about their fuzz. So the Tysco
You
fuzz
mean the
pedal,
fuzz that I'm holding in my
the fuzz that
hands
you are holding in your hands at this
and
very moment.
cradling it? Yes.
So I have to say, I have a particular level of bias when it comes to this pedal. So the Tysco Fuzz it's a classic silicon fuzz circuit with a switchable upper octave that takes inspiration from a furry 70s predecessor. Now that doesn't give us tons to work with, but after a little bit of sleuthing and under their thinly veiled uh, cover for what they're paying tribute to, is they're paying tribute to the one, the only Fox Tone Machine, which is
Oh.
not only legendary, but it says Fox in the name. And, as the owner of FoxChiRho and lover of everything orange, sorry, but you've got me right there. So
Yes.
it's a super red. It's an octave fuzz or a fuzz with the octave switch on it, and then a pretty
Optional
simple
octave.
level, tone, and gain. It's one of the cool things about the aesthetic on this is not only just like from the top down super aesthetically pleasing, but from the side it's really striking because it's a surprisingly like flat enclosure. It's like an
Yes.
without the knobs taken into account, it's like an inch and a half, which is super cool.
It's less than that. It's like an inch and
Oh
3/8
come on, you're gonna get me
unmeasured.
over an eighth of an inch.
Yes.
Ah,
No, 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 I'm sorry. It's less than an inch and a quarter. Wait, so that would be
3/8 is just
half.
under so because 4/8 is half an inch.
Yeah, this half, it is indeed half. What is wrong with me? Why am I not measuring this right?
In high school
Yeah,
we were supposed to do math,
it's
not meth,
it is
right?
actually it's exactly an inch and a quarter. Wait, yeah. No, it's yeah. Sorry. It's just under an inch and a quarter. How much are the sticks? Those sticks are sixteenths, not eighths. I was looking at a different ruler.
Well, let's just say that size doesn't matter, but
Fine.
we're just
It
we're
kind of
just
matters.
just matters how you use it. And I'm very excited to see this form factor. I think it's really visually striking. I think it looks really great, and they're doing really great work. They've also got a couple other pedals out, and I'm very excited to see what they've got. If they've got anything coming out for NAMM, and
Are you gonna drop by that booth?
I am definitely dropping by that booth because
Nice.
they're part of the group of folks that also Harmony is included in that, I believe. And
FanLab Technologies and mono cases
yeah,
and
so
a bunch of media publications.
doing some really great stuff to innovate and to revive some brands that more than deserve the love and attention that they're getting. Very excited, believe in what they're doing, and can't wait to see those folks at NAMM.
Yeah. Oh man, those Harmony guitars are just so attractive. I'm very jealous of everyone who has one.
That champagne color, that
Mm,
champagne
so
sparkle
perfect.
color,
Yeah.
it's so good. So before I start drooling on the air, why don't we get into our topic for the day?
Yeah, so this was not your idea and it was not my idea. So whose
It
idea was it?
This idea for a topic comes to you from my beautiful wife, Melissa.
Yay, Melissa, she's great. And this was a I don't
She's
know, I
awesome.
have legitimately no idea why I didn't just pitch this as the idea, since the idea is basically to talk about something I just had an article come out about, like, that I wrote. I wrote an
Yeah,
article, my first article for Reverb.com, hopefully, hopefully more of those to come, wink, wink. Um,
nudge, nudge.
nudge, nudge, I like to write for money. Uh, so, I had pitched a bunch of articles to them late last year, and the one they came back they wanted me to start with was about environmental sustainability in touring. And anyone who's ever put gasoline in a car or a van or a bus knows touring is not naturally uh, uh, very good for the environment. Just in general, traveling, driving, not great for our planet. And, when there are terrible things happening with the environment left and right that are causing, people to be displaced and probably an end to species and potentially the world as we know it, not to get too heavy handed. It's important that we
Yeah,
all
way to bring down the
hey,
mood.
this okay, so this topic came back into um y- uh, you know the people have been talking about it more. I don't know how else to say that. Since Coldplay announced that they wouldn't be touring anymore until they can get to a place where their carbon footprint when they tour isn't just non-existent, but it's actually beneficial. And they're a bigger band, and so they're putting a lot of money, leaving a lot of money on the table by not touring. Like, this is how musicians make money. Of course, not every musician can just not tour, but there's a
Right.
lot that we as musicians can do to reduce that impact, and some of them are kind of, harder and maybe more major and might take a little bit more planning, and some of them are kind of simple things that maybe we should be doing anyway.
Before we get so I am very excited to talk about this subject, but before we get too far into it, you said something about gas, and that reminded me of where gas comes from, and reminded me of a revelation that I was brought to my attention actually quite a while ago, but I wanted to share it for the sake of anecdote. I hope you're ready for this. It's a little bit of rabbit trail, but hear me out on this. So, oil, it comes from the remains of deceased dinosaurs, right? So now we use
Right.
oil to
Petroleum,
fry
yeah.
things, and so he, so we use oil to fry things, and chicken nuggets are fried. Now, chicken nuggets are also the ancestors of dinosaurs. So does that mean chicken nuggets are created by taking the great 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 grandchildren of the ancestors and frying it in the ancestors' remains? Is that too dark?
Oh buddy, that's not the kind of oil you're frying food
I
in.
don't know. I gotta say, it kind of freaks me out.
You're frying it in vegetable oil.
I think someone's got to tell Baby Yoda to stop eating chicken nuggies.
Oh god, I don't think
All
you're
right,
right
so
there.
all right, so touring sustainability. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so where should we start from the beginning?
I think we should start with chicken nuggets.
Uh, yes, a band tours on its stomach. That is for sure. So in a lot of places, especially when you're a band of a certain level, you get access to a green room. And this green room, you usually get to make requests for what's in it.
Right.
And you can make requests or like specific requirements for things like preferring food from a local co-op, or no food with plastic wrappers, or don't provide us with plastic cutlery or plastic cups, we'll bring our own. So it's a little thing that bands can do um, in their green room at the venue. You can also try to shop at local co-ops or farmers markets whenever you can, instead of stopping at some sort of big box store. um, you can also work with the venues in general to see if there's a way to limit the single-use plastic, because venues, they serve their cups very often, and they serve their drinks in plastic cups quite often. So
And,
you can ask them if like can fans bring a reusable water bottle or a reusable mug or cup or something like that, so that you're not cycling through hundreds of pieces of single-use plastic every
Right.
single night.
Which, to be clear, there is a reason for the plastic being used in the first point. And the reason why we can't use glass at a venue is, well, could you imagine if you give a bunch of drunk concert goers glasses that they could smash and cause issues with?
I mean, I've seen glass used at venues, and I was very shocked when I saw the whole stay at the Brooklyn Bowl, and up until maybe halfway through the opening band, they were giving everybody glass, and then you're up at the front, and you're like, "The hell am I supposed to do with this glass?"
Right, right. I mean, it's not to say that it's not done before, but I mean, that just it's almost frightening to think of how far south that can go very quickly. But I
No,
mean,
I
there's
know, but,
other
like,
alternatives to
okay,
plastic. You're right.
so, like, a Timber Outdoor Music Festival event I used to work, we would sell people, reusable stainless steel, pint glasses,
Hmm.
and we poured the beers into that instead, so you can have people like recommend that they bring their own, or maybe that's another piece of merch that you can add and encourage people to, get your mug and have them fill it up at the tap instead of going through this just absolute ocean of single use plastic. And I really hate to tell you this, man, but a lot of venues and restaurants, are not the best recyclers, and I get it. It is a pain in the ass for a business model that's, not extremely lucrative, people aren't getting paid extreme amounts of money. It's
People
it's
are getting,
ridiculous to think that
or
they're
they're
gonna do
frequently
it.
not getting paid enough to care. And then depending on
Hell
where the
no.
venue is located, the cost of recycling versus just having a dumpster that gets emptied every week could be
Oh,
a
yeah.
prohibitive cost for them to provide that in the back end. And especially for a service that's not necessarily customer facing and no one has to know about, I could totally see how that's easy to become fall to the wayside as a priority as a venue owner. But
Oh,
at the same
totally,
time, if you're
absolutely.
going to be touring there, I see good. At least you've got enough leverage to say, hey, what? At least tell me what you guys are doing, so we know what we're
Mhm.
touring on.
Yeah, and just, like, making these requests at any level, I mean, the venue wants you to be happy, they wanna work with you, they wanna be partners with you. Not all bands can throw around any amount of weight, but especially if you're a band that, has a draw and go on tour frequently and have maybe done work with a venue or a promoter before, just making those requests where you can and talking to other bands about, here are the venues that do this well, here are the venues who didn't care. Um, because we all do talk to each other, musicians. Maybe
Uh,
not enough, but especially I know that the women do.
to quote Uncle Ben, with great power comes great responsibility.
Oh man.
Gone too soon.
Yeah, it was weird watching. I just watched episode 3 today, and then at the end of the movie I'm like, well, he's going to die in 19 years. Dark.
Wait, episode 3 of what?
Star Wars.
Why are you watching episode 3? Episode 9 is out.
I've seen it.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, I saw it.
Oh, I missed that update. I thought you hadn't seen it yet.
No, I saw it.
All right, so we'll hold off on spoilers. I'm sure at some point in the next couple of months, I'll want to share my constructive criticism and praise on episode 9, but we'll hold off a little bit longer to give listeners a chance to also go out and see episode 9 and before we start sharing spoilers. I don't know. I feel like by if it's we've hit February, I think it's fair game. What do you think?
Yeah, that's fair. But I do this thing where I see Star Wars and then I go and rewatch some of the old ones every once in a while.
Oh, you and me both. So, anyways, if you object to the February timeline, let us know why. Uh, Shoot us a message. Tell us why we should hold off. And chances are pretty decent. We'll just tell you that there's no excuse to have not seen it, but we'll still hear you out.
I'll try to remember to put in like timestamps in the show notes if I can. No promises. I have a lot of work to do.
I don't know. I feel like if we made it to February and you still haven't seen it, spoilers are on you. We have done our best. We've done our due diligence. But
Yeah.
if you feel differently, tell us. Give us your compelling reasons why or why not.
Sure. Cool.
So, a question I had for you about the article, because I did in fact read the article.
Oh, thank you.
Uh, Biodiesel is one of the touring options that you suggested in terms of like rent a biodiesel van or make it a priority to purchase that. But I'm just totally curious. What's the? I don't know. hardly anything about biodiesel. I've got a couple of hybrids, and that's about as far into the green vehicle sustainability that I've dipped my toes into. And what is the cost difference we're looking at? How
Oh
are
god,
there?
you're
Is it
assuming
easy to find?
no one. It's not easy to find biodiesel rentals. There are companies that do it. I saw a few on the East Coast. Uh, there, those two options I kind of presented with the understanding that it's unlikely that this is financially feasible for most of the performers reading this article. Like, yes, they make electric sprinter vans, but then you have to plan your routing about how far can the sprinter van go in a day. And it's the same with biodiesel. And you can't get biodiesel still at any gas station. So you have to plan
Right.
your routing around that. So you don't have to call
I don't know if
AAA
I've ever
for.
seen a gas station that has
A
biodiesel.
lot of them have a percentage of biodiesel in their diesel, I believe. But biodiesel, it's just
Hmm.
it's not mined, or however they say it. It's not sucked out of the earth, and uh, it's replenishable man-made resource, is my understanding. And
So that's what we fry our chicken
Jesus
nuggets
Christ,
in.
dude! Actually, I'm pretty sure that it's okay. So the answer to your question is stupidly yes, but it is the
I love it.
biodiesel is vegetable oil or animal fat based diesel fuel. So it's made from like stuff had been fried in it, and now and then they take that oil and then they turn it into gasoline, basically.
Hey, Clarice, what are we going to do with all this lard? I don't know. I thought we could maybe sell it to the musicians down the road.
You use that lard. They know how to use that lard. Clarice knows exactly what to do with that lard.
I won't ask for
Make some
further
Brussels
clarification.
sprouts.
I don't need any further clarification on what that means. But I don't
Lard
know
is
what
I keep my lard and I cook with it.
I just every musician I think has a social responsibility to purchase a Tesla. What can I say?
So, yeah, it's not the number one option when it comes to like getting from one place to another. Your best option is still a van, and the things you can do to most limit your environmental impact in a van. Pack light. So find a lightweight vehicle, as lightweight as you can have. Um, Backline wherever you can. Try to book shows with local bands who can like bring a drum kit or a bass amp. Um, if you're playing, unless you're playing DIY shows, you could probably
Hey, that was a
do.
really great. Your guitar sounded really great. Hey, by the way, can I use your amp?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But ask in advance. I've actually never had anyone not ask in advance about backlining.
Right, right. Can I make a suggestion here?
Sure.
If you own your vehicle and you do not keep up on the maintenance, that can make a huge difference on the gas mileage you're getting.
Yeah.
And something that I'd like to present for consideration is the option of making sure your tire pressure is good, making sure that your oil change is up to date. I
Right.
mean, the little things like that can make a huge difference. And I know this is going to sound really bougie, but the reason why I know that is uh, on my Prius, it's got the digital readout of like what the mileage is. And if I ever notice that like the mileage is coming down from like 40 and dripping down to like 36 miles per gallon, I'm like, what is going on?
It's
That
your
doesn't
tire
seem
pressure.
right. It's usually something like tire pressure. I'm overdue for an oil change. Or I just haven't been taking care
Yeah.
of my vehicle in the way that it should.
Yeah.
And
And your
I
cars,
it's
every car in the world has like a suggested maintenance and like dates that you should be following to make sure your car stays intact. And that's just not just good for the environment, it's good for your safety, and
right,
it's good for your pocket. Like if you don't want to be spending a lot of money on gas either. Also,
right.
so packing light, number 1. Well, not number 1, it's just the first in this list of things. Number 1 is easily routing. Like, oh my god, don't go from, like, Vancouver, BC
To Portland,
to
back
Portland,
to
Seattle,
Seattle.
and I'm, like, what to talk because 'cause we're going down to Olympia and we're doing that, and
Right.
but, like, no, more even bigger things like, oh, going from Vancouver to Spokane to Portland to Seattle and then over to Boise, like that makes no sense. And it's not good for you. It's not a good use of your time. It's not a good use of your money, and it's going to use up a lot more fuel.
Oh, absolutely. S-
So those are the
So,
big things. There might have been oh yeah, and it's like I know you want to get to the next place faster, but I'm not telling you to drive 55, but the faster you go, the more fuel you're going to eat up.
yep, yep. Plan accordingly, and every vehicle's got their optimal gas mileage.
Yeah, cruise control
R-
and cruise control is your friend.
Cruise control is always your friend. Always, always. It's amazing what kind of a difference that makes in your gas mileage.
Totally.
Gosh, I feel like such a dad sitting here talking about gas mileage on a guitar
I know, we're the
podcast.
coolest. We are absolutely the coolest.
You know what, young whippersnappers,
Mhm.
make sure to change your oil.
Change your oil, don't drive too
Check
fast,
your tire pressure.
pack light. You don't need to bring
Don't take anything you
don't
don't need, but still be prepared.
Yeah. Oh, man. So that's obviously the biggest, thing you can do to lessen your impact. I mean, that and the use of plastic, but that's like the gasoline usage is one of the things that you can actually control, even if the venue is like, no, screw you, we like our plastic.
Right. I mean, and I think this whole conversation has to be put in the context of there's only so much you can do, and you can't hold yourself responsible for all of it. I think I'm not suggesting that you're saying that, but for anyone who's reading that and going, "Oh man, but I can't do," that's
No.
not on you, and that's okay. Do what you can. That's the best we can all do is do what you
Do what
can.
you
You know?
can do now, and then as you grow, hopefully your band gets to some major point and you can, get venues to make more concessions. You can, pay to offset your own use of carbon and all these things like that.
Right. And for anyone listening who is still listening despite that their disagreements with us on the state of climate change, you know what? You can disagree with us on that, but
Nah, not really.
take our advice because you're saving a lot of money if you take our advice. Let's be honest. Like, save yourself the
Climate
money.
change is real.
This is my convincing argument for climate change deniers is at least save yourself the money, do yourself a
Yeah.
favor, and yeah,
Yeah, and, look into alternate transportation too. I mean, Amtrak's rail system is really not bad and really quite pleasant.
that is true.
You can put a lot of stuff under the
And
train.
it's always nice to not have to worry
Driving.
about driving. And
Bar
uh,
cart.
just
Da 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 bar cart.
I was gonna say I haven't been on the trains in America, but do they let you
Oh,
drink
yeah.
on the
Oh,
trains
yeah,
here?
yeah.
See,
You're
there
not
you
supposed
go.
to drink anything you didn't, like, buy on the train, but that's never stopped literally anybody.
Right. That said, we're not advocating to not be responsible. I'm just saying if you had to choose between sitting behind a wheel for 12 hours in a van with poor handling that's super loaded with a lot of people who have flatulence, I I got to say train sounds a lot nicer by
It's
comparison.
really I know that the train up to Vancouver, BC is just gorgeous. The food is actually quite good. You have internet until you hit cross over in the border, and the border crossing is easily 10 times faster because they just kind of check and then they're not it's like not like this like line of cars. They really prioritize getting the trains across with customs. So I mean, bands are notoriously given the short end of the stick when it comes to getting across the border for various reasons. And that's one way to sort of lessen that blow. Also, trains are, of course, cost money. Again, you would need to backline stuff. Same if you decide to
Right.
go like via the Bolt bus option or whatever. You can put stuff, under the bus to an extent, and it's just like not driving is amazing.
I definitely see pros and cons, and I hate to sound, and here we go again. I'm starting to sound sneaky, like, smashing, just take the train. But I mean, if it's an option, you just compare your options, see what makes sense,
Hmm.
and know that these options exist and that you're not relegated to the classic punk band stashed in the back of a Ford Sprinter with
Yeah.
their drum set clink. He's like, oh man, who forgot to turn off the snares? You hear the snare drum rattling in the back. I mean, you don't have to stick to that. There's other options.
Yeah, no, there are other options. Speaking of options or not, lodging. If you're staying with a friend, cool. Like, how about you just keep clean after yourself and bring your own towel. That's fine. You're really not contributing much. But hotels, just historically, are not the most environmentally sound environments. They do a lot of laundry on a daily basis. They use a lot of water. They use a lot of cleaning supplies. That being said, again, hotels you can bring your own towel if you want to. That's really neat. But the biggest thing that you can do at a hotel is uh, don't make an absolute mess. Like the more cleaning supplies that have to be used to clean up after your you know, messy butt are not very green.
Well, and I'm sure they're not actually cleaning with anything disinfectant. I'm sure it's just like lemon pledge for everything. But so, question for you, and I honestly don't know the answer to this, but I feel obligated to ask for the sake of curiosity. Is does it make more environmental impact to add the weight of a few towels to a vehicle, or to have it in washed in an industrial size? What I assume would be an efficient, cost wise, therefore efficient washing wise machine.
Just bring your own because you're gonna do it at it's gonna be used at every single hotel. But, like, honest to God, like, I would just use the hotel towels. But that's yeah.
Right. And I don't know what the metrics are on what's theoretically more sustainable. What I
It's
do know is if you're staying at a hotel for more than one night, leave the do not disturb sign on. Unless you feel really confident that they absolutely have to make your sheets free every night. I mean, if you don't have to make them wash the towels every single night, I think that's a
well,
win. So like
you can have the people come in and, like, pull up your sheets and do a quick pass and leave your if you leave your towels hanging up, they're not gonna take them. It's when you put them on the floor that they take them.
right, right. So I don't know. I usually, unless I'm staying for more than a few days at a hotel, which I don't usually do, it's usually like 3 days tops. I just leave the do not disturb sign on the whole time. I'm sure that the maids are like, "Oh, I wonder what's going. I must be a drug deal." I don't
No, they
know.
don't care. They
I
just know someone wants their privacy and they're like, "Less work for me. Yay." Also
right.
tip your housekeepers.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So the next thing is we kind of start talking about at the venue things in terms of like single-use plastic. We don't and this next one is kind of goes with transportation, but like the how are people going to get to your show? Is it close to public transportation? I know we can't always choose where we play, but uh picking some place like in a downtown area is more likely to encourage people to look into buses, trains, whatever they have, and bikes in their city, versus a kind of venue that everyone is going to have to drive to. And that's just for good for
I,
you. I mean, for venues, like they sell more alcohol, I'm sure. But yeah,
well, and you know what? I really think showgoers should only use three different modes of transportation for getting to a show. I think it should be walking, longboarding, or bicycle. What do you
I've
think?
this might surprise you. I rarely bike to shows. I just don't like biking at that time of night when everyone's been drinking.
Oh, and I was being completely facetious, and that makes a
I
lot
tend
of
to do the
sense. But
bus if I can, and that's most times. Um,
yeah, the bus system in
it's
Seattle's
pretty
pretty
good,
great, and
yeah. Drops right in front of my house too.
I it also helps that my day job provides me with an Orca card. So,
Nice.
haha.
And the last thing I talk about is tabling and merch. So this is something that Sadie from Speedy Ortiz got me thinking about is so the textile industry is one of the largest polluters in the world. Fast fashion is not good for the environment. I know we all think like, oh, when I stop wearing it, I'll just give it to Goodwill. But Goodwill and these other places that take these clothing donations, they can only resell and reuse so much of it. A ton of it gets chopped up
Right.
like put into like boxing bags and other kinds of things. Like that's I'm not even kidding. If you slice open a heavy bag, you'll very often find clothing scraps in there. But it is literally trash. Like a lot of it that they just can't use. So there,
Right. They do fabric. Well, don't they do? Doesn't Goodwill do fabric recycle?
I don't know what that is.
I mean, I'm sure there's gotta be a way to recycle it. I remember hearing somewhere that Goodwill does do fabric recycling. I feel like I should have looked into that before we started the show, but I think that's the thing. Not to say that fast fashion I'm not defending fast fashion here. I'm
Yeah.
just choosing a point to nitpick here for a second. But I do 100%
Yeah.
agree that fast fashion isn't exactly sustainable
Yeah.
and very
Seattle
helpful.
actually does textile recycling. Charitable organizations collect only 25% of the 4 million tons of used textiles discarded annually. Yikes. So,
Yeah, that's a lot.
yeah. So, I mean, that's cool when people recycle their fabrics, but apparently people just aren't doing that. So, there are a couple things at play here. You can do what Sadie does and do your merch in more limited runs. I mean, you and I, we only do merch for Get Offset on a drop ship basis, and that's not just because of environmental reasons for us. It's also, demand reasons, inventory reasons, not wanting to ship things out reasons. But by doing these limited runs, she and her team can find more environmentally sustainable or friendly providers of like these printed clothes. Things like Levi's has their do like use less. They have this whole line of clothes where they use less water in making them, which is another part of making clothes. So doing that kind of thing. I wish I'd been able to talk to Sadie about that for the article, but she had a really busy end of the year, so that's I hope to talk to her about it at some point. But um, what I always think about is why do people want to buy merch in the first place? And I know that the big reason I buy merch for bands is just because I want to support them, and I know that they, you know, at most of the venues I think that I see bands at, they get to keep 100% of their merch. I would hope. I know some venues take a cut, but it's still a way for bands to make money. And I don't know, maybe consider alternate ways your fans can support you financially. And that could be something as simple as a Patreon or a record club subscription where you record one song a month and send it to all your fans, or do what the Hold Steady does and release live recorded shows for donations or a certain amount of money. Um, just to keep people feeling like they're still supporting you and your art and are a part of that community without buying articles of clothing that ultimately they didn't really want in the first place. I mean, how often do you buy a shirt at a show you then take it home and think, why did I do that?
I mean, I don't typically I actually don't resonate with that because usually if I'm buying merch, it's because it looks freaking sick and because I want to support it.
Because
And
you want to support it.
but I definitely right.
I don't know. I have like hundreds of t-shirts, Andrew.
I I don't as of now. I've actually been slowly editing down my wardrobe to less and less over the past couple of years. Also, just like this episode, inspired by my wife. And
Mhm.
uh, so if I'm gonna go buy a shirt at a concert, okay, I don't mean to sound very high horse here. I just that's
You've been saying that a lot this episode. I don't think I believe you anymore.
smashing. I'm better than you.
I don't know what it's like to buy a thing I don't want just to support somebody.
Well, that well now
Ah,
I just feel like a terrible human.
nah. I just like I think a lot of people do that. But that's in the article I say ask yourself that question, ask your fans that question. Ask them would you rather, spend 25 bucks on a shirt and, 50 bucks on a hoodie, or would you rather just like join my Patreon and get a couple benefits here and there that are more of a connection type thing, like we do. Like we have the Patreon, so you get like early access to content. You get access to that dizzying chat group on Facebook. Uh, which is fun, but also dizzying sometimes.
It makes my day on a regular basis. I feel like I benefit from it arguably more. I don't know about arguably, but I feel like I benefit from it quite a lot. I'm
Yeah.
not going to play the comparison game, but I rather
Who are
like
you
it.
going to compare to? Me or them?
I was just going to say I'm not sure who's getting the better deal out of it, or Patreons or patrons.
Patrons. I think it's really fun and cute to see like the little friendships blossom in there, and I think that's my favorite part. Y'all talk about Star Wars in it too much though.
Oh,
Oh,
come
oh, oh,
on.
oh. So, special shout out to Abby Simmons. She's done tour managing and managing merch for. I think I first met her when she was working with Sharon Jones. She's a longtime Pacific Northwesterner, and she's just a hardcore badass. So yeah, big ups to Abby. Thanks. I could not have finished that article without you. Peace. That's all I got. Unless you have
Cool,
more
cool,
questions
cool.
about the article or anything.
I think I'm good.
Yeah, you know everything you want to know about environmental sustainability and touring.
No, I think I'm just scared of sounding like an elitist,
Yeah,
that's all.
that's fair. Yeah, I really am hoping to do more articles like that with reverb.com. I'm hoping to get something written in the Fretboard Journal this year, and I do like one article a year with She Shreds right now. I would like to up that by a considerable amount. So, hey, and if anybody's listening who likes my writing or is interested in having me write something for you, hit me up and we'll work something out. I like writing things.
You do, and you're very good at it.
Thank you. That's because I read a lot.
Well, if you enjoyed the show, support us on Patreon, check out the website.
Yes, I was going to do that at the top of the show. We have a Patreon. We have a store on the website. Get Fuzz Sake merch.
We have a group on Facebook where we talk about the latest and the greatest, and we
Mostly
have
cats.
mostly cats. So there's also follow-up discussions for as well as a visual thread for episodes. So come join the discussion if you got further questions. If you want to poke fun at my elitism or anything like that, by all means, step on in and let the bullets fly. Let's do this.
Yeah, yeah. We also have the YouTube demo channel. So if you're interested in hearing the Tysco pedal in action or the Dwarfcraft pedal in action, I just got the OB&E Old Blood Noise Endeavors Minim and the Maw. Those are all things that I still have yet to film. I just anyone who's listening to this would have just finished up the DoD week. So we didn't get to talk about that, but check it
And
out
what a
on
week it's
YouTube.
been.
I demoed 7 DoD pedals in 7 days, and then I rated and reviewed and ranked all of them at once. You might be surprised about my favorites and my least favorites. Uh,
Why don't so instead of spoiling the best one, can you spoil what your least favorite one was of the bunch?
oh, Gunslinger. Hated it.
Okay.
Hated it.
And there we have it. I'm not the only one that sounds like an elitist this episode.
Hey, it just wasn't for me. I didn't jive with it. I thought it made it sound like I was playing through a telephone. If I want to sound like I'm playing through a telephone, I mean, I guess that's my pedal.
I just needed to not sound like the only elitist that hosts this podcast.
I am going to say putting that bifet boost in front of the Gunslinger made it sound dope, though.
Fair, fair, fair.
Yes, neat. Well, thanks for listening. Thanks for understanding.
I am Andrew.
I've been Emily. Goodbye.
1, 2,
Bye.
3,